I am Lisa with Lisa Boone Designs. I am a retailer of milk paint now, and I am in Madisonville, Kentucky if this is your first time watching. So what we're gonna do is I just have a couple of smalls. We went to a church yard sale 2 days ago. We went to the store, we passed one, so I grabbed a couple of these things and we're going to paint them. So there's different products. There's this bathroom holder. There's like a metal candle holder. Anyway, I've got this candlestick and I've got this, which is a little bit shinier. Can you see the shine? So I've got two of these, and then I have this old board, and that's the one that we're gonna add salt wash. So I'm gonna use it today for the first time, and I'm going to see what it's like with milk paint. We're gonna play. All right, so the thing to know about milk paint, you'll want to use, I have these in the store, these little mini whisks, and you can whisk it. But I bought myself, I have a big immersion that I used to use for my milk paint, but I saw this and I wanted to give it a try. My daughter used it before I got to on her coffee this morning, and she got a good froth. So I like to use mason jars when I mix my milk paint, and I'm just gonna stick it in there, and you really want to get it blended. That is the thing with milk paint. And then you want to let it sit for 15 to 20 minutes. So the first thing that we're gonna do is, before we get painting, is we're gonna mix the milk paint up. All right, so here's the thing too. Milk paint is all natural. It's made, it has clay, it has casein, which is the milk protein. It has very, very few ingredients in it. It's very powdery. It's something that you really don't want to inhale, just like you don't want to inhale like DIY paint when you're sanding. I mean, it's the same thing. So what I'm gonna do, since I'm making a good bit, I have my little mason jar. This is 2 tablespoons. I'm going to go ahead. You don't have to always measure, but just because I'm gonna show you, I'm gonna do 3. I probably might be too much, but I wanna make extra for the salt wash. And then I'm going to go ahead and seal this up. Again, I'm using BlueBird, and that is such a pretty color. It kind of reminds me of DIY Paint's Skeleton Key, and I love that color. So I'm gonna take my warm water, and some people do it the other way around with the water first. I've always done it this way. I don't know that there's a big difference. I'm not sure. Again, you could use your wire mist, but I'm gonna use this frother. I got it on Amazon. It's a milk frother. Or it was broken, and what I did was I glued this part. It was all the way through, and I couldn't separate it enough to really get some glue in there. So I glued it the best that I could, and it's got lots of marks. And so what I'm going to do is, at first I thought, well, I'll just decoupage it. But it has this handle, and on this one it's missing. So we're gonna make a mold, we're gonna cover this up. We're gonna use salt wash on the bottom part because we're gonna create texture. And I've never done salt wash, and I've never done it with milk paint. I've seen it done a lot with DIY paint is what I mean. Okay, if it's too thick, add a little bit of water. You really want to get it all, it is really nice and thick. It's a good consistency. It's like melted milkshake. I just dipped my whole brush in this jar of water. It's dripping, and I'm just gonna let the water come off. You want these Klingon brushes to be extra wet, dipped in water. So I did that. So I'm gonna let this sit, and it actually gets thicker. Can you see it? It actually gets thicker as it sits for 15 to 20 minutes. It's still liquidy. So if you're used to DIY paint, this is where the difference is gonna come. First of all, you have to, see how it got a little bit more frothy? You have to be okay with the unknown. All right, so we're using the color BlueBird. I'm just putting a little bit. Again, I'm using my Kling-On brush. These brushes are incredible. These are like the best brushes ever, like seriously. They clean themselves practically. They are so great, and they're synthetic, but they're soft and they're awesome. And so I'm just putting a little bit. I can wet distress it, and I can add layers, and I can blend with water, and that's one of my favorite things to do. Now with milk paint, I probably should have done this part last. With milk paint, you can't add water because the water will reactivate the paint, and then you can get it to crack. So if you don't get it a lot of chipping and cracking, and that's what you're after, you can actually wet distress it with a baby wipe, and it reactivates it, and you can get some more chipping. It cracks and it chips, and it looks authentically old, but you can actually get it to chip even more, even if you use some of that extra bond. So if you're painting a piece of furniture, you're gonna want to put extra bond on your first coat. Then your second coat, because it won't be full coverage, you're gonna have to do a second coat. And with light colors, if it's going over something dark, you're definitely gonna have to probably do a third coat. So that's the difference between milk paint and DIY paint, but they're so different. But here's the thing too, they work well together. So your first coat could be DIY paint, and then you could put milk paint on top of it and get it to chip back to your DIY paint. And that's one of the things that I absolutely love.
You can purchase Sweet Pickins milk paint on my website, lisaboondesigns.com. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask in the comments below. All of the products that I used in this tutorial can be found in the description.
Whenever I do anything in my room that I sell, I try to use the same colors. And this way, it looks pleasing to the eye for a customer, for me looking at it. And then if a customer wanted to buy coordinating things, they have it right then and there. Now this is thick and I can see some chunks. This is the thing with milk paint. The chunks will come off when you sand it. And when you sand milk paint, oh my gosh, it is like so soft. And this is how I would paint spindles, back and forth instead of up and down. This is like really thick, and as it gets thick, you can add more water. It's hot in here. I don't know why she's saying that it is cold. I'm gonna add, and look at the coverage even on this. So you can paint metal, you can paint, that's much better. You can paint glass. You can paint wood. You can, like I said, you can do cutting boards and food trays. It's food safe. And that's what I love. That's why I chose, if I was gonna choose another another paint product, it had to go with DIY paint. It had to have the great qualities that I love about it being safe and non-toxic. But then I wanted something too that was food safe, so that when I make my breadboards, they're sealed in hemp oil.
Don't forget to like this video. If you have any questions, again, please post them in the comments. Also, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel. If you hit the notification bell, you'll receive a notification when I upload my next video. I'll be posting a lot more milk paint videos and also tutorials on DIY paint, Iron Orchid designs, and Recycle Treasures decoupage papers. Stay connected with me and let me know if I can help you in any way. Also, help me to grow my channel. Share this with your friends and family of people that you think would enjoy tutorials like the ones that I have.
All right, I'm gonna put this to the side. That's gonna need a second coat for sure. I wanted to get to this one. What's great about this is that this is dry wood. It's gonna soak right up. I wouldn't have put extra bond on this, but I'm just using up what I have. I probably did way too much, and I'm just kind of getting it in there. See, this is what I love about painting stuff. Like, people are like, oh, that's so old, it's an antique, you shouldn't paint it. I disagree. Of course, I'm a furniture painter, and I mean, I have I have one piece that I don't want to paint in my house just because I really like it, and I like having a little bit of wood, accented, natural. I like that. But I love to paint because when something is detailed like this and you paint it and then you distress it or you add some wax to it, like a colored wax, it brings out all of the details that you wouldn't have ordinarily seen. See, and so you want to do that because see how much better it looks? Okay. Then I'm gonna add my salt wash. So salt wash is an all natural additive. It's a powder form. So a lot of people, oh, there's a scooper in there, but I'm gonna use this one. So see, it's just powder. And I'm gonna mix this, and it's gonna get chunky. And if you need more texture, you can go ahead and add more salt wash. So the premise behind it is that you can create raised stencils with it. You can create texture on your pieces. So if you have a piece of furniture that is all chipped up and broken, instead of trying to take off the veneer and do all kinds of crazy stuff to it, or start from scratch, or even throw it away, you can just go ahead and add some salt wash. Now see how much thicker that is? We're going to take this and I'm going to apply it by dabbing it. And in some parts I'm going to smooth it out, but I'm especially going to make sure that I cover that area where it has been glued. And this is going to be a lot thinner because I have my really, really wet brush.
You have a lot of options when you're using Sweet Pickins milk paint. You can water it down to a wash, or you can go ahead and make it thicker and get a little bit of texture. I showed in the first part how I made a little bit of a wash because my brush was extra wet, but then I went ahead and I applied a second coat for more coverage. If milk paint is going to chip, it's going to start chipping as it dries, and here's an example of how it started to chip, and I was so pleased that I actually got it to chip a little bit on its own. The toothbrush holder and the napkin holder turned out great. I ended up putting white wax on it just to change it up a little bit. Here are all of the products that I did during this haul tutorial. On the candlesticks, I stamped them with a bee and a crown from IOD Stamps. On the riser, I used typesetting stamp and then Painterly Florals Lavender and a few pieces of Floral Anthology. And then on the tray, I used Resale